Hey, what's going on? It's Stokely from Sauce on Delay. I don't have anything particular talking about today. Now that I'm a gentleman of a certain age, I'm in my mid-40s now. I got, depending on how I take care of myself, looking at these guys online that, are focusing on health span and focusing on reversing a biological age and focusing on their musculoskeletal, doing heavy lifting and all these things, staying active. Based on these guys, it's possible to have a health span, independence, cognitive, function, all of that be in working order, probably all the way up to almost 90 years old. That seems relatively not far-fetched. Maybe 100 years old, 100 seems a little, that might be a stretch, but 80 years old is a definite. 90 years old is possible. 100 years old, it's a little more rare, But these guys, 70s, bopping around, just jumping around, 70 years old. I see a lot of these guys in there. I see guys in their 50s looking amazing. There's guys in their 60s, they're looking decent. Guys in their 70s a little slowed up, but they're still moving around. Dr. Elliot Justin, he's 71, and his communication is 100%. Like he seems very vigorous in his functionality. His cognitive ability is just 110%, and he's having SCX, and that seems to be occupying his mind a lot. So seems that they say if you're not HORNY, you're not healthy. So he seems to be fully functional when in that capacity, which would indicate that he's pretty healthy. But education directly proportional to lifespan and health outcomes also. So he's a doctor, so that would indicate he's got a little bit of an up on the rest of us, education wise, income wise, which facilitates his lifespan, health span, above the average guy. Anyhow, so right now at mid-40s, I still have the opportunity to put my life in a trajectory where I have a good health span for another 30 or so years. That's a whole life. That's a lifetime right there, and still be just about the same functionality, same independence and vigor as right now, almost. Up to about 70 or so, and then slowed up a little bit for the next 20 to about 90 years old. It's not too bad. Avoiding accidents and incidents. So. In my opinion, the main number one thing to maintain is your mind, is your perspective, is your optimism, your thirst for knowledge somewhat, always keep learning things. Try to maintain some social connections if you want, if you can, if they're good, if they're beneficial. I guess, coming down to those ages, you're going to be dealing with loss. Because if you love, you're going to lose, according to what I just read. But, we got to look at it, I guess, as a phase and just another step in our evolution, another step in our families and our friends' evolution of them transitioning, which is, I still can't come to grips with, but I've been very fortunate lost, periodically I lose family members, unfortunately. I feel like a lot, let's say maybe about 50% of those losses were probably preventable, because they still had some life left in them, but health issues, accidents, crime, ended their life earlier than I think is earlier than a natural lifespan, So we got to deal with the loss, but we got to stay optimistic, stay positive, keep looking, keep looking forward to things. Yeah, maintain your cognitive abilities. My buddy Jimmy, who lives across the street, rapidly declined into Alzheimer's after being in a nursing home for only maybe a year, or maybe only a year or so. I can't explain it, because when he was out, he was fully functional. He had 2 cars. He was he had a lawsuit against I don't know, like 2 different entities. One was somebody he had a car accident with, and then one was his job, because he was a bus driver and he got injured on the job, and then he got retired early. I think he was retired since he was about 30 something years old, so he was getting paid for the past 40 years, for almost 40 years without working. So he also used to gamble. I think he won $20,000 gambling. He was just like he was busy. He had just lost a brother the other day, so he had went to, I think it was South Carolina, where he's from. He had 9 kids, but he was in contact with a few of them, trying to help them out, stuff like that. But anyhow, COVID-19, he caught COVID, and they put him in the hospital, and I don't know what they did, but whatever they did, 2 years later, his mental state was, I don't know how to describe it. By 1 year's time, when I went to visit him, he didn't know where he was. And by 2 years' time, he was, I don't know how to describe it. He didn't know where he was. He didn't know who he was. He was combative with the people in the nursing home facility, so on and so on and so forth. So, then my other neighbor, he developed Parkinson's. Now he's totally aware of what's going on. He's still very smart, still very slick, still very aware, but his motor skills are diminished. My grandaunt had a stroke. Now she knows what's going on, but there's a issue where the words she wants to say don't come out as the same words. She wants to say something, but it comes out differently. So the stroke affected her communication, and that whole experience, and the sadness and the difficulty of that whole situation, it frustrates her. Like, she's trying to communicate, and she starts to get very angry and frustrated and start to cry. So that's another neurological issue. So I think one of the main things you want is your neurological, your mindset. Your mindset, right? You need neurological function, your mindset, and then you want the body to be supportive of all of that. You want your motor skills still. You still want your mobility, your dexterity, so on and so forth. So you can help yourself. Because when you can't help yourself and you have to rely on other people get frustrated. And when they get frustrated, you get angry and you get frustrated. And it just becomes a tumultuous, difficult situation. And, people think that they want to help, but they reach a point sometimes when they get fatigued. It's already been studied that if you have Alzheimer's or dementia, your caregiver can also develop Alzheimer's or dementia. It increases the probability that your caregiver will develop Alzheimer's and dementia. And if we look at Gene Hackman, that's the guy who I was trying to remember last time. If we look at Gene Hackman had dementia. His wife developed dementia. They were living together, just the two of them. I don't think they had any children. She was his caregiver. He had dementia. She passed away somehow. He could not feed himself. He couldn't feed himself. He wouldn't give himself water to drink. And he ultimately passed away. I think that was the order of things. I think his caregiver passed away. And then because he wasn't able to help himself, he basically just starved. Isn't that horrible? So, you start noticing these things, I guess. If you're paying attention, you notice these things. My friend sent me a post about the 40 years old, supposedly by Ray Dalio. I don't think Ray Dalio said any of these things, but whoever was making a post about being 40 years old and it being a time when you have to take care of your parents. Fortunately, I think parents are not as old as one time as before, because if you're 40, your parents are on average probably going to be about 60 years old, 60, 70 years old. And according to the American lifespans, if your mother still has another 20 years and your father still got another 16 years, and they might still be fully functional. But anyhow, one of the thoughts that's been coming to mind is preservatives. So when you're talking about preservatives in food, processed food has preservatives. That's the only kind of food that got preservatives in it. Stabilizers. Processed food has stabilizers and preservatives in it. You pick up an apple, a green pepper or a tomato, it doesn't have any preservatives or stabilizers in it. It doesn't have any kind of modifiers regarding texture and mouthfeel in them. They just come that way. They just come the way that they come, the way that God made them. So, you know what? We don't all get exposed to the same information, but everyone who's been exposed, I guess, not everyone knows. I can see that not everybody knows, because I still see people buying soda. I still see people buying turkey stuffing. I still see people, buying a lot of stuff in the supermarket that is bad, including myself. I saw an article, come across my screen. I don't know if it was from National Geographic or it was from some other, what you would consider respected news agency, saying that there's no safe level of processed meat. California has just sued some food producers. I don't know. People stop calling these things food now. Ultra processed food producers for making the food addictive and harmful. Now, I don't think these companies intentionally made these things addictive and harmful. Well, they made it addictive on purpose, but they didn't make it harmful on purpose. It's just a consequence of its, what it's composed of. So, when you talk about, I was just talking to AI. AI was telling me that when food producers want to make a food attractive or, addictive, whatever, the three parameters that they look at are sugar, fat, and salt. Sugar, fat, and salt, from my understanding. I think that's what it said. Sugars, fats, and salts, right? Salt make you want to eat more. Sugar makes you want to eat more. And the fat make you want to eat more too. Because your brain is telling you, oh, that's fat. Oh, that's good. I need that. I need that for storage. I need that for nutrients. Sugar, that's getting you high. And the salt makes the flavor pop, make you thirsty, which sometimes we mistake thirst for hunger, so that makes you want to eat more. So MSG is like a crazy salt, that's what MSG does. MSG makes you want to eat more because it's like a powerful salt. And a salty flavor, right? But when it comes to fats, that's the one I really want to talk about. Preservatives for fats. And the fats are achieved through oils. Everybody's talking about seed oils. I don't really think seed oils are that bad per se, but I'm not going to dispute whatever everybody's talking about. The thing about the seed oils is how they're processed with petrochemicals like hexane and all kind of stuff like that. How they're brought to elevated temperature, which increases free radicals, and how they're also they add deodorizers, which are other things that you're not supposed to be in. So there's things added to it, and the pesticides. It's the pesticides, the high temperature, which increases free radicals, and the strippers, which is like the hexane and the other petrochemicals they use to refine it. Now, cold pressed oils aren't that bad, Anyhow, so the fats, the so-called fats, come from the oils. This guy, he's got the same car as me. I like to say hi to people that have the same car as me, but sometimes they don't respond. Anyhow, so how do you preserve these oils? How do you preserve these fats? Well, you gotta add things in it that make it last for 3, 4, 5 years. When you put it on the shelf, these crackers, these cookies, these frozen pizzas, all these other things, you put preservatives in them to preserve the fats, prevent the fats from breaking down and going rancid, right? And making the thing taste bad or making the thing go bad. You don't have to some of these foods we don't have to refrigerate, and it lasts for 5 years. Now, typically how we achieve that with other things is we totally dehydrate the thing. Like when you totally dehydrate some beans and put them in a glass jar, those beans are gonna last. You totally dehydrate rice and you put it in a container, that rice is gonna last. You totally dehydrate the corn, whatever, so on and so forth. That's how they've been doing it for centuries. These silos held dry grains, and these dry grains last you through the next season and through the next season, maybe, until some moisture gets to it and destroys it. But mold and stuff like that. But for the most part, you dehydrate these natural foods, crops. If you dehydrate crops, you can have it last, but not every crop can be dehydrated. Now, what some people do is they'll dehydrate tomatoes and make tomato paste, or we'll dehydrate seeds, and that's how we're able to keep the peanuts so long. I don't eat peanuts. Peanuts supposedly have a fungus. Also, the pesticides and the genetic modification that has happened to peanuts make them unhealthy. So, anyhow, getting back to the fats now. So, if you put preservative in fats, right? What is your body gonna do with it? What can your body really do with that? So, okay. So this is what I think is happening. Because there's nothing wrong with fats, You need the fats. You need it. You need fat for your brain. You need fat for your adrenal glands. You need fat for your testicles. You need fat for the ovaries. You need fat to keep you warm. You need fat as an energy reserve also sometimes. You need fat as an energy reserve. In the case where you're in a fasting state, your body will use the fat somehow. I may not be saying it exactly right. Supposedly the body uses the fatty acids, right, when it's in a fasting state. Anyhow, so if we consume these preservatives, sodium benzoate, potassium nitrate, high levels of sugar, high levels of salt, even regular salt, because we use salt as a preservative. That's how you make salted codfish, and it lasts for years. As long as you keep it dry, dehydrated, and covered with salt, that meat does not decompose. Beef jerky and these things, some of these beef jerkies contain a good amount of salt. But if you want to preserve meat, processed meat, you got the potassium nitrates, you got the sodium benzoates, whatever. But they those nitrates and those salts aren't just appearing in meats. They also appear in things that contain oils. From my understanding, right? Because remember, we can make, tallow, which people cook with, I believe is beef fat that's boiled up, and we get the oil off of it, and we use that oil to make like a butter called tallow, which is non-vegan, okay? The similar thing is achieved with cow's milk, where I guess the cream, the cream, after you boil it, that comes off the top, you take that off and then you whip it with some salt and you make margarine or something like that. Not totally sure how butter's made. Something like that. You just churn the butter. You're just churning it. You're filling it up with oxygen. You're turning it into a emulsion. You're making an emulsion with the fats from the milk. They're all basically emulsions, basically, which is a combination of water and oil. Anyhow, when you got water around, you increase the probability of mold and decay. So those oils can go rancid. Those fats can go rancid when you have an emulsion, or whether you have a fat, or whether you have some meat that you want to preserve. That's why we have to dehydrate the meat to make beef jerky and make it last. Once the water is introduced, you introduce life forms, bacteria. They now have a habitat where they can start breaking things down. mold has a habitat now where it can grow, so it makes the food whatever. Food producers, ultra processed food producers, they can't guarantee that you're not going to get the food wet that you're not supposed to get wet. They can't guarantee that it's not going to get wet somewhere along the process or somewhere along your use and shorten the shelf life of it. So they add in these preservatives to make it last way longer. Okay. You're eating those preservatives. What are those preservatives going to do now? They're going to preserve the fats inside of your vessels, inside of your guts, inside your liver, right? Inside your kidney as it flows around your whole body, inside your pancreas, inside your thyroid. All these things need cholesterol in order to make hormones and do what they do. It's going to send these preservatives all over your body. I think it's even going to send it to your brain. Your brain needs cholesterol. Your brain uses 25% of your body's energy. Now, supposedly your liver makes the energy to go to your brain. So your liver got to work right. And the liver needs the pancreas and the kidneys to support it. And the liver needs your skin to support it. Through detoxification methods. The kidneys are detoxifying, the skin is detoxifying, the lungs are detoxifying. Right? The pancreas is helping it process the sugars, but all that blood and stuff is circulating through the body with these nutrients, with these preservatives also. These preservatives are getting inside of our vessels, inside the fats in our body, the oils. Oil is called a fatty acid, and fat, I guess, is like a different kind of chain, a bunch of chain of fatty acids. I guess I'm not totally sure, but fat and fatty acids are somewhat connected. Okay. So anyhow, whether we're preserving the fats inside of meat, we're made out of meat. We're made out of meat. So if they're using preservatives to preserve beef jerky, using preservatives to preserve hot dogs, using preservatives to preserve cold cuts, which is all meat, and we eat those things, those preservatives are preserving the inside of us. And we're not supposed to be preserved like that. Not in that kind of way. We're supposed to be preserved by having cell renewal. The cell's got to die and the cell's got to come back. The cell's got to die and the cell's got to come back. And go through their cycle. But they can't go through their proper cycle if they have a preservative attached to their molecules and their compounds and their whatever. If the preservatives are attached to our fats in our body and our meat, which is us, it doesn't allow the body to break it down and renew it in a way that it's supposed to. So this is why I think that processed meat was recently mentioned in an article to not be safe at any level. The bacons, the boar's head cold cuts, which had a big germ outbreak the other day. Killed like 3 people. But, that's a little different. These preservatives are preserving us. And we're not supposed to be preserved like a mummy like that. We're supposed to have cell renewal. Cells dying and cells coming back. Okay. So that's my theory, right? But what I'm gonna link that to now is diabetes. No, not diabetes. Stop. That's not what I meant to say. Obesity. Obesity. So your muscles need fatty acids. Sometimes your muscles are going to eat fatty acids. Sometimes your muscles are going to eat up fatty acids, right? Use them as energy if you're in a fasting state, which is rare because we're eating all the time. I'm eating all the time. I've become a big time drug abuser of food. And the weird thing is that I just lost like 18 pounds. 18, almost 19 pounds I lost. I don't know how I lost it. I don't think I'm really that stressed out. I don't think so. I believe I'm eating more than I've probably ever eaten in my life. I'm eating more candy than I've eaten in the past 5 years, because they have candy all through the office. I've eaten more Oreos this year than I've eaten in the past 5 years, because I kind of stay away from stuff like that. We don't ever put that in my house, but they have it at work and I'm munching on it. I'm not saying it's their fault, it's my fault. But what I'm saying is that I don't understand why I lost weight, but I haven't been jogging. So I think I lost the little bit of muscle mass that I had around my legs, since I haven't been exercising as much as I was before. Anyhow, I segued too much. But the preservatives are preserving our vessels past the time that they should be. They're preserving probably other stuff that shouldn't be preserved. Maybe they're preserving the bacteria too that's supposed to be getting killed by our body. Maybe it's interrupting other functions, because the body has functions that are repairing things and moving things over here and flowing things through this filter and putting things through that filter. And if we're eating preservatives, it's blocking up that process. Your adrenals have some big old fat all over them. He uses it to make cortisol. The testicles got fat on them. Testicles need the fat to make sperm, testosterone. The thyroid. I don't know if the thyroid, I've never seen a picture of a thyroid with fat on it, but maybe it got fat on it. I know that the testicles got a little fat on it. I know that the adrenals got some fat on it. The ovaries, I don't know if the ovaries got fat on it. I've never seen a picture of an ovary that I can remember with yellow material on it. I've seen testicles with yellow material. I've seen adrenals with yellow material, which indicates that it uses fat. It got a whole bunch of fat reserves on it. So if the fat isn't being broken down and just building up on your adrenals, I don't think that's a good thing. If the fat is building up and it's full of preservatives on your testicles, I don't think that's a good thing. I don't know if there's fat on your thyroid. Ugh. Right? But your brain definitely uses cholesterol. Your brain definitely needs fats. Your brain is made out of a lot of fat. Preservative in your brain can be a good thing. So anyhow, this is all I'm really chiming about. Please try to stay away from preservatives. Preservatives are exclusively, for the most part, in processed foods. But I think we should also consider that salt is a preservative and sugar is a preservative in excess amounts. In excess amounts, sugar also creates bacteria and fungus, feeds bacteria and fungus. In excess amounts, salt can give you high blood pressure. You know, by telling your body, oh, we need more water, causing it to retain more water, increasing the water pressure in your body, right? That's how the salt part works. But it also, excess salt will preserve you like a mummy. Potassium nitrate, that's a salt also. MSG, that's a salt. It's also, I think it also messes with your brain. So we gotta watch out for these preservatives. Now there's some preservatives that are not so bad, from my limited understanding, okay? It's my understanding now, which is limited, right? Because things change when you learn new things. There's vitamin E. It's an antioxidant. Antioxidant is not a bad thing. That's a different kind of preservative. It prevents reduction, oxidative stress. But it's, people look at it as a preservative. Oxidative stress typically takes place, due to sunlight and stuff like that. You can go back to my interview with Dr. Francois Vicks, where he talks about superoxide dismutase. Anyhow, getting close to my destination. The vitamin E, rosemary, cayenne pepper, turmeric, ginger, garlic. You can use these things as an additional preservative, especially, let's say you dehydrate some meat, right? You can lather it up, slather it up with some spices, and those spices will kill off the bacteria, keep the bacteria from growing and eating up the fats and eating up certain things. It prevents the mold and the bacteria from getting on there. You still got to keep it dehydrated, but you don't have to add a bunch of salt. You don't have to add a bunch of sodium chloride, potassium nitrate, sodium benzoate. You don't need to add all of that if you have spices fighting off that bacteria, fighting off that mold, right? But it's probably still gonna decay a little bit faster than if you used salts. But we don't want to preserve our meat. And when I say our meat, I'm talking about our bodies. We don't want our bodies preserved by chemicals like that. We want our bodies preserved by cell overturn. Cell overturn is going to keep you in your optimal state, in my opinion. You don't want certain cells living too long. What kind of cells don't we want living too long? Cells that aren't functioning right. What kind of cells is the body trying to remove? Cells that are not working right. The body's trying to remove these cells that aren't working right, but the preservatives are keeping them around. So when we kind of look at it, these preservatives are interrupting with our cell turnover. That's my opinion. This is all my opinion. I didn't really do any research on this per se. I'm just freestyling. Preservatives are interrupting our cell turnover. And cell turnover is very important. Even in your brain, I would say. It's also interrupting our body's ability to turn these fatty acids into energy, in my opinion. So we're not even getting the full energy benefit of the food. The calories are measured by burning it, from my limited understanding. The calories of the food is measured by burning it and finding out how much energy it produced by burning it. Am I right or am I wrong? I might be wrong on that. But calories is a measure of energy. And the way how they measure food calories, I think, is based on energy. And then the 2,000 calories per day calculation, I think that's totally wrong anyway. I think we should be living more for about 1,300, the most, 1,300 calories a day. Anyhow, in closing, what I want to say is preservatives are no good because preservatives preserve fats. Our body uses fats and fatty acids. They're not exactly the same, but they're somewhat connected, right? Fats and fatty acids. Fats are like an emulsion. A fatty acid is just, okay, that's what it is. A fatty acid is just like sunflower seed oil, whatever, oil. A fatty acid is an oil. A fat is an emulsion. I might be wrong about that. You can double check it. Just double check that. I'm not sure about it. What we call fat is an emulsion. Because our body isn't going to just break down a fatty acid like that. Just like that, and have it flow through your body. In an emulsified state, it has some water in it. So we can do things with it. We can flow it around. We can make it move around. You know what I'm saying? The oil's not just going to move straight around. Oil. We're not a car engine. We don't pump oil. We pump water mixed with stuff. Mixed with red blood cells, mixed with T cells, mixed with plasma, mixed with white blood cells, mixed with messenger hormones, mixed with all kind of stuff. We mix everything into the water, which is our blood. And we mix. We don't pump Mobile 1 synthetic through our body. We don't pump oil through our body. We pump water with stuff in it. So how would we get the stuff in it if it doesn't have some kind of water solubility? What would have water solubility? An emulsion would more likely to be water soluble because it's already bound to a water molecule. So I'm saying right now, and you got to verify it because I'm not a professional. I'm just a guy here having fun. A fat is an emulsion. A fatty acid is the oil. It's a straight up oil. Like linoleic oil, palmitoleic oil, stearic oil. These are long chain fatty acids that I just mentioned that are used in cosmetics. But anyhow, so all I want to say is that these preservatives in the food are preventing the absorption of the fatty acids that are in our fats. These preservatives are inhibiting cell turnover. We need cell turnover to kill cancerous cells. We need cell turnover to destroy bad stuff. We need the cell turnover. Our immune system wants to destroy the bad stuff. Our immune system wants to attack anything that's not good for us. But if we put preservatives, if we consume preservatives, if we put preservatives even on our skin, it's not a good thing. If you put some crazy glue on your finger, you get some crazy glue on your finger, that skin, you're not. All you got to do is wait. You can only wait for it to fall off unless you find a solvent to get it off your hand, and the solvent itself is dangerous. The solvent is there to break it down. The crazy glue wants to stay there on your finger the whole time, and then you gotta wait till your skin peels off. You gotta wait till the cell turnover happens for that crazy glue on your finger to come off. Or you can use a solvent which breaks it down and gets rid of it. So your immune system is it's like your immune system says, oh snap, you got crazy glue on your finger, I got a solvent for you to get it off. But let's say you got the crazy glue on your finger and some kind of hardener is preventing it from a solvent from working. It's going to stay on your finger until it curls over or something like that. It's like, and I'm done saying what I wanted to say already. The conclusion is that preservatives are no good. But let me give one more example. So I was watching a nature show with my son, and there was a turtle, and it seemed like a little kid owned the turtle. So what the little kid did, or probably their parents did, was either hot glue, crazy glue, gorilla glue, epoxy glue, gems, right? Fake plastic gems on the back of the turtle. So the fake plastic gem stayed on the back of the turtle for years. When you looked at the turtle shell grew in every area except for where the gem was glued on the turtle's back. When you look at the turtle's body was misshapen now. So that gem was glued onto that baby turtle when it was very small. Right? When it was very small. And it caused the turtle to be deformed for the rest of its life. Its shell grew deformed. Its shell grew deformed as a result. So when you look at it, I don't know, when you look at it, these glues, preservatives, whatever the case may be, we need cell turnover. That turtle needed that area of its back to cell turnover so that it could grow normally according to its design, according to God's design, right? So we can't have stuff that can't decay in our bodies or that can't be broken down in our bodies. It's not good for us. These forever chemicals that we're talking about, the PFOAs, polyfluorocarbons. These polyfluorocarbons are staying in our bodies for years. The body can't break it down. We hope that the body removes it somehow. The body doesn't break it down. That's not good. And the preservatives in the food, at least we can deal with that a little bit, because the preservative in the food, they're kind of water soluble, but they're attached to our fats. So what can we do? I mean, there's a few things we could do. We could lose weight. We could drink water. We could keep our fat reserves down off our body. Because where do women get cancer? A lot. In the breasts. What are the breasts made out of? The breasts are made out of emulsions. The breasts are made out of fats. That's not the number one killer of women, though. The number one killer of women is heart disease. The heart got some fat on it, too. But breast cancer, right? Liver cancer, colon cancer. It's part of our digestive system, and our fats are being affected by these permanent things. These forever chemicals and these preservatives. We need to get away from them. Before I say something even more silly, let me just end it right there. Hey, thank you for rocking out. Thank you for listening. Thank you so much. So, hey, listen, we don't got to do a whole bunch of complicated stuff like trying to figure out this supplement, that supplement, doing this, doing that, doing blah, 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 blah. Starts to get confusing after a while. What we got to do is stay away from the fake sugars. Right? Stay away from the high concentration of sugar. Stay away from all these fake salts. Stay away from the preservatives. I don't think sodium benzoate occurs naturally in the world. I don't believe that potassium nitrate occurs naturally in the world. Regular salt does. Yeah, our body can probably handle that regular salt. Just drink some water, you'll be all right. These other preservatives that they use to preserve fats, I don't know what the names of them are. We got to stay away from them. We got to stay away from the preservatives. We got to stay away from the fake sugars. Body can't do nothing with it. If the body can't do nothing with it, if the body can't flow with it, break it down, eliminate it within a reasonable cycle, then it's in there too long, and it's a problem. Hey, let me stop because I'll talk forever. Thanks so much.